Assalamualaikum everyone. This is part 5 of complete web application on online shopping store. Before you start this video, please watch part 4 of complete web application on online shopping store. In the part 4, I have shown edu.net and added some class, and in this video I'm going to show you repository. So let's get started. Let's go to Visual Studio. Solution Explorer. I'm going to add a folder. Add new folder. I'm going to give a name repository. In this repository, I'm going to add a class. Add class I repository and click add button. And now I'm going to change here interface TBL entity, where TBL entity colon class. Okay, and I enumerable TBL entity get all records. Okay, and I queryable TBL entity get all records I queryable. Okay, integer get all records count. Void add TBL entity. Okay, and for update void update TBL entity. Okay, and void for update by where expression using system.link expression func TBL entity comma predict, comma, action, TBL entity for each predict. Okay, and colon. After that, TBL entity get first or default integer record ID. Okay, void remove TBL entity okay. After that, void we need to use here capital R, remove by where expression one TBL entity comma bool and close where predict. Okay, and also for void remove range by where expression fun TBL entity comma bool where predict. Okay, and also for void inactive and delete mark by where first bracket expression fun TBL entity comma bool and where predict comma action TBL entity for each predict. Okay, and TBL entity get first default by parameter. Okay, and here we need expression func tbl comma bool and where predict. Okay, I enumerable tbl entity get list parameter capital parameter expression func tbl entity comma bool and where predict, and also for enumerable tbl entity get result by SQL procedure. Need to use here parameter like string query comma params object parameters. Okay, Control S and save it. Now I'm going to add another repository class. That's why I'm going to Solution Explorer and add class, and I'm going to give generic repository and click OK button. TBL entity, and we need to use iRepository. So I'm just going to copy and paste it here. TBL entity where TBL entity class. Okay. Now we need to show potential fixes. Click and implement interface. Okay. Now we need db set using system.data entity tbl entity db set. Okay, we need to connection string. That's why I'm going to Solution Explorer and here web config. We need to this connection name. That's why I'm just going to copy and private DB online shopping entities and using online shopping store DAL DB entity. Okay, now we need to make a method for generic repository. That's why I'm just going to copy this name and public generic repository, and we need to use these entities DB entity and use second bracket. After that, DB entity equal DB entity and DB set equal DB entity dot set DBL entity and close it. For add method, we need to remove this code and we need to use DB set, this DB set dot add entity, this entity, and DB entity, this entity dot save change. Okay, and for get all record count, we need to use return DB set dot count. Okay, for get all records, we need to return DB set dot to list. And for get all records iQueryable, we need to return DB set. Sorry, DB set. Okay. Get first or default, we need to use return DB set dot find this record. Just going to copy and paste it here. For this method, we need to use return DB set dot where predict dot first or default. Okay. For this method, we need to use return DB set dot where predict dot to list. Okay, For this method, we need to use if parameters, these parameters not equal null, then return db entity dot database dot sql query dbl entity query is query comma parameter, this parameter dot to list. Okay, else return db entity dot database dot sql query dbl entity query dot to list. Okay, for this method db set dot where predict dot to list dot each for each predict and close it. This for each predict and Ctrl S to save. For remove method, we need to use if db entity dot entry entity, this entity dot state equal entity state dot d dashed and db set dot entity. Okay, db set dot remove entity. For this method, we need to use dbl entity equal db set dot where predict dot first or default. Okay, and remove entity. Okay, for this method we need to use list dbl entity equal tbset dot where predict dot toList, and for each var ent in this entity remove dot ent. Okay. For update, we need to use tbset dot attach entity and tb entity dot entry entity dot state equal entity state dot modified. Okay, and for this method we need to use tbset dot where predict dot toList dot for each for each predict and close it. We need to create another method, so that's why first of all we need to create it in iRepository. That's why I'm going to iRepository and I enumerable tbl entity get records to show integer page number comma integer page size comma current page comma expression func tbl entity comma pool where predict comma expression func tbl entity comma integer order by predict and close it. We made a spelling mistake here, so we need here expression. Okay, and build this project and in generic repository we need this get records to show. So that's why we need to use implement interface. Okay, now you can see it here. For this method we need to use if this where predict not equal null, then return tb set dot order by order predict dot where predict dot to list, and for else return tb set dot order by predict dot to list. Oh, we need to another repository class, so that's why I'm going to Solution Explorer and repository. In repository folder I'm going to create another class, add class, and this class name will be generic unit of work, and click add button. Okay, first of all we need to here a connection string, so that's why I'm going to Solution Explorer, web config. In the web config we need to this GB online shopping entities connection name, so that's why I'm going to copy and private and paste it here, and using online shopping store del. Okay, tb entity equal new and we need to use we need this method and public void save changes tb entity dot save changes. Okay, we need private bool disposed equal false, and after the generic unit work we need to use I disposable, and using implement interface click it, you can see here, and dispose will be protected virtual and bool disposing if not this dot disposed if disposing tb entity dot dispose and this dot disposed equal to, and in the above we need to once more time implement interface. Okay, here dispose equal to gc dot this. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching this video. See you in the next video. Have a great day.